Good morning, Hoosier Nation. Welcome to another victorious edition of Hoosier Morning After. This is Hoosier Morning After Little Rock. Last night, your Indiana Hoosiers go on to beat Little Rock in a game that maybe we did feel a little nervous about at points, but I have to admit that I watched the game delayed last night, so I knew the outcome beforehand, and usually I don't like to do that. I usually don't like to watch the game or know the score. If I'm not watching the game live, I'll stay away from it and everything. But a game like last night's where you kind of knew IU would come out with it, that IU would be able to handle this game and do well, I don't mind looking in on the score at that point. I don't feel like I'm missing or spoiling too much. And I think knowing the outcome helped me enjoy the game a little bit more and not feel as worried as some of you might have been when you were watching the game. And I know that a lot of times when we have these types of games, these games that we're favored by 30 going into it, that we are also resting star players. When we have Trey Galloway sitting out because of his knee situation, which we still don't have a lot of information on that. And then we have our star player, Trace, who's a little bit banged up with his back. That's all they're kind of really saying. We kind of saw him at the end of the Miami game go out and holding his back, and he had ice on it and was getting it massaged a little bit. But just sitting out for precautionary reasons like that definitely sends a message to the team, because had it been a bigger game and a tougher opponent that Indiana was having to deal with in this one, then Trace Jackson-Davis would have been able to play, and he would have played in this game. And so him sitting out in a situation like this obviously sends that little bit of message to the team, that whether you're not saying it as a coach, obviously you're never going to say that we're definitely going to win this game in that sense. Obviously you want to give confidence that you're going to win every game, but you don't want to put it into a situation like this where teammates and everyone just kind of goes through the motions a little bit. Is it a little bit of call to being nervous with these slower starts that we've had recently? Sure. The starts haven't been up to snuff the way we want them to be. But I think that is something that we may see a little bit this year with this team, is that teams are going to scout us a lot and are going to know our actions and know what we do, and they're going to game plan for that. And at the beginning of the game, that's when it's the most fresh and when teams are going to be able to do that the best. And when we have games like we did, like this game, eventually our team's going to wear them down. I mean, we've got such a deep team, and we're going to find our avenues, we're going to find the lanes and how we can attack and everything. And other teams aren't going to be able to keep up with that, because it's a very physical game to stay up and down and have to play against a team like we are going to be able to put out there. One thing, getting a few maybe negatives of this game out of the way, just overall, is just the missed open looks. We can't have these missed open looks that we've been seeing. Great to see the offense is creating some great shots and some great shot options. When we get later on in the season, we're going to have better analytics, and we can look and see kind of shot quality numbers. Those types of deep dive basketball analytics do exist, but you need a larger sample size to be able to see those. So down the road, we'll obviously take a peek at some of those and see where Indiana stands with those analytics. But you just saw a lot of wide open shots that players should have been making. And it's frustrating. And it's obviously something that's ingrained in our head as IU fans, because that's been the number one issue going way back through Archie's tenure. It's getting better. It is getting better. We have guys that are hitting it at a higher percentage than they have in the past. And the team overall is averaging a little bit better three-point shooting than we have before. In this game, shooting 35.3% from three. So that's obviously a lot better than what we have had in the past. But it's something that has to improve. And to get to that next level and to beat big level teams, it's got to be better. And I think it equally is magnified and gets frustrating because we continue to have this weird effect on other teams when they come into IU. Little Rock last night, I thought our defense did great against Little Rock. Guys on the ball did a pretty good job. Little Rock just hit some really tough shots. There were a lot of shots as we were watching the game last night where IU's defender was right up in the face of the Little Rock player, and you're just like, well, we can't do anything else. There's not much more you can do. I mean, you guard it so much, and then other times where balls just bounce off the right way. I think there was a play in the second half where Jordan Geronimo had one of his many amazing shot blocks, and it blocks out perfectly to a Little Rock guard that's out there on the three-point line, and he drains a three. So it's just frustrating bounces of the ball that you get like that occasionally in games that are a bummer. Now, talking a little bit more about different players as we go along, I thought X continues to have a great game and a great season overall. I think we were a little worried going into it, looking at the exhibition games. He struggled to kind of find his rhythm and look like who he was in the past for us. And now he just looks great. I mean, and in this game especially, just played the right way that he needs to play. I know we used to think that he would take forced shots, that he was taking way too many shots, that he doesn't have to anymore, and that we know this year he doesn't have to. There's other playmakers, there's other shot makers on this team that can carry some of that offensive load, and I think last night's game is a good example of that. He did a good job of initiating all the offense, ended with 9 points, 3 for 6 from the field, made his 1-3 shot that he had, perfect from the line, 2 for 2, and with 10 assists. It was really a bummer that he finished with 9 points. He didn't get one more point and get the old guard double-double, 10 points and 10 assists. But I like the way he's playing for IU. What I really like about X's game is his ability to break down opponents' defenses. The way he gets into the lane and gets those layups that he gets, his speed, his first step is so fast, and that's not an easy task. If you're on the ball and you've got that takeoff, a lot of guys, when they have that kind of speed with the ball, travel on that first step or that takeoff step because their hands don't work fast enough than their feet want to go. And if you think about X, do you think you get many walk calls from him? Not at all. And that's just the coordination that he has and the ball handling skills that he has. Now, where it benefits IU so well with his ability to get to the rim is just the way it lulls teams into needing to come over and help. And if he continues to do that, guys that A, come over to help will either end up fouling him, or B, they come over and help too much, and it leads to a lot of dump downs to Race, Trace, Malik, whatever 4 or 5 guy is down there for dunks. And we saw that a lot with Race last night. So I just love what X is doing. I love his headspace right now. Seems like it's in a good way. Doing great things. Just 1 personal foul last night, even 2. So continue to keep that ball pressure that he does and didn't foul is just great. The other obviously bright star on last night's game and the big question obviously going into it with having Trace Jackson Davis sitting out was something very interesting because he needed to step up and we've seen Race so much this year just kind of be that role player off to the side, and his number was called in this game, and he needed to step up and fill those minutes, and he always does that in the sense where I don't feel like he forced anything. He let the game come to him. He stayed underneath. He didn't feel obliged to when he has to play on the other side of Trace Jackson Davis. I feel like he feels like he has to be that 4-man that stands out. But when he's in there at the 5, he feels more comfortable there. He's great at sitting in that dunk down position and supporting Xavier Johnson. He did take 1 3, which again, I don't mind him taking 1, 2, even possibly 3 threes if they're within the rhythm of the game, because the way that spaces things out for him. Now, he did get that hard hit to the head, and honestly, that was a little nerve-wracking for me, because we all remember, if we can remember quite a while back, Race, I know, feels like he's been with us for a long time. He had that concussion, and that concussion affected him big time. So that made me a little nervous with the headshot and everything, but he went in, got it obviously glued up or something, and then came back out with the headband and played with like a man on fire. And, you know, basketball players tend to be a superstitious bunch, and I think it's easy to hope that maybe the headband stays. I think we would definitely want the headband to stay. I don't know what you guys think, but I think the headband needs to keep going. And maybe there'll be some Twitter account, Race's headband maybe needs to get going. Someone will get that going. But even NIL deals, you know, it's the NIL. Let's get a Race Thompson headband. I haven't seen too many shirts and marketing things out there for him, but I like what Race did last night. I like his aggressiveness and the way he played within the game and allowed the game to come to him and did the things that we needed him to do. Jalen Hood-Schifino, kind of talking about our other guards, he just seemed to struggle. Kind of when you think about his game, when you look back at his game and just broadly look at how you kind of think he played in that game, it was a bit of a struggle for him. But if you look at the stat sheet, his stats still look pretty good. I mean, he finished with the second most points on the team, 13, 6 for 13 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3. He's still a little too trigger happy on those early shots and everything. He's too eager to get those up. I think he needs to play a little bit more in the offense. Again, I don't mind those mid-range shots coming from him when it's off of a ball screen action or late in the shot clock is obviously when you don't mind seeing those, because that's something that he can create and he can hit. I just feel like he's forcing those a little too soon in the play of the game, and it just doesn't read well in that sense. Another kind of thing that was a little bit glaring from him, and just overall, kind of sliding into some of the stats talk in it, is just the turnovers. 13 turnovers, and just too many of those seemed unforced. We play fast, and we want to push the ball up the court, and a lot of those passes were those aggressive passes, trying to find that little window, and the type of plays. It's interesting, when we were watching the game last night here as a family, we kind of talked about those passes are frustrating and aggravating when you see them happen, but they're ones that are just right there on that razor's edge. And when they do work and happen, they're a big jolt of energy, and they're very exciting plays within the game. And we've seen, even in last night's game, I can't pinpoint to one right now specifically, but we've seen those before where they just hit right for the team. And it's kind of one of those trade-offs. It's similar to the stat where I like to say with Race Thompson. You want Race Thompson to take a few of those threes, because when he can hit it, 1 or 2, the benefit of him hitting 1 for 3 is a lot higher than him missing those 2. So it's those kind of harrowing passes, those unforced turnovers, those fast break, trying to thread the needle type of passes, while frustrating when you have them at a high volume. When they're at a lower volume but a higher success rate, what they benefit you as a team outweighs those misses. Kind of a weird thing to say, obviously. It's again, how everything can be in life and everything. It's a risk-reward situation in those type of things. And I think we've got to like the shooting, we gotta toe the fine line with that. Speaking of our other big guys, obviously again is Trace Jackson Davis staying out and not having him. We knew Malik cracked into the starting lineup for the first time in the regular season this year. Thought he played a pretty good game. Ended 10 points, 5 for 10 from the field. Honestly, in plus minus, he ended up 0, just nodded, which was interesting to see. But he continues to play really well. I hope he's okay. Hope he's not banged up too much. That was quite a fall early on in the game. And it obviously was bothering him because any downtime you did see him grab it and hold on to it and everything. And they got heat on it. The telecasters, the commentators said at one point. But also speaks volumes to his toughness, that after it happened, he was getting up, walking it off, and never complained, never looked to go off, and was kind of playing through it overall. So, I mean, he's a very tough guy, and he's going to need that toughness, obviously, getting into Big Ten season, because he's going to be aching. There's going to be pains and there's going to be aches for him this year as he goes along. But again, overall, a very good game from him. And I like what he did for the team last night. Another player that I wanted to speak on is Tamar Bates. I like Tamar Bates. I like what he's doing for the team, and I think he had a very good game last night. I like his defense. His defense, again, last year was the one thing that we thought struggled the most, and we needed the most production out of him was on the defensive side, and he's definitely improved that, and it continues to be a good play for him. He ended with 8 points, 2 for 4 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3-point line, which I hope he hits down more. I think he has the ability to hit those shots and be a high volume and high make 3-point shot maker for us. What I see with Tamar's game is that he's letting the game come to him. And it's a good thing, but I also think it's slightly a negative for Tamar, because I do want a little bit more Troy Williams out of him, a little bit more recklessness, a little bit more aggression on offense. I want to see him try to take a little bit more chances because I think his skills allow for that. I think it's kind of one of those things where you kind of see what CJ Gunn does when he's in there, that he is just not afraid. He's going to try to shoot it every time he has it and everything like that. I think Tamar has a little bit of holdback from being like that. And I think he can open that up a little bit more. Maybe it's more of a situation where he can just feel it out and feel like if it's hitting, and he feels like he's on fire. I think we'll see those types of games from him. I look to tomorrow's game to maybe see that. I'd like to see him be a little bit more aggressive. Maybe that'd be the key thing that I'm looking for in tomorrow's game for IU would be Tamar Bates to kind of look to make some more offense for himself and assert himself more. Obviously, with Trey, that's probably going to be out again. We will probably see a lot more minutes for him and CJ Gunn. So I want to see that for him in this next game. CJ Gunn as well, I would kind of lump him in that same situation with Tamar, where he plays a good game. He maybe needs to cool it down a little bit more than what I just said for Tamar. But his question mark as well, being a freshman, was going to be his defense. And I think it's doing pretty well. I think he's doing a good job as far as freshmen would go to adjust to this game. And he's playing, again, since Trey is out, he's playing a lot more minutes right now, and it's only going to benefit IU down the road, him getting these valuable minutes right now for when other injuries might happen, or if other guys, again, aren't playing very well. To get him that rhythm now is just going to be better down the road. And that's maybe a little bit of a applaud to the coaching staff, is the way they've kind of managed minutes and doing things. I think Coach even mentioned in the postgame that he's still kind of been playing around and learning a lot of things about this team as he goes along. And that is evident with, I think, some of the lineups and things you see in there, but not evident in a bad way. I like the way he's using the minutes with the team. and getting these guys some experience. It was obviously something that we were arguing for last year, was getting some of the young guys some more minutes and some more play out there. And good to see that coming a little bit more to fruition this year. The next guy that I want to talk to that really fired off, and especially in the second half, Jordan Geronimo. Jordan Geronimo got a little bit more play again. Jordan finished, let me see as I bring up my stats here, 17 minutes, 11 points, 5 for 6 from the field, so shot it really well. 1 for 2 from 3. Again, same as I say with race and everything. If he's in that 3 to 4 tops, 3-point shots in the game, I'm fine with that. Actually, 2 to 3, I think, is where he needs to sit around, and that's where he was, and he made 1 for 2, so that's great to see out of him. The one argument I would have for Jordan is to stop falling for that shot fake. He was just too eager to get up there and block those guys, and fell for that a little bit too much, and that's kind of a glimpse of Jordan that we saw last year, that kind of lost deer kind of look that we would see him on defense sometimes, trying to find where he needed to be. Not to say that he wasn't lost, but just falling for those faked shots a little bit too much, but continues to be the shot block leader for this team. Finished with 5 block shots and everything. I'd like to see some of those where when he goes up to block them, if they're a little bit easier, maybe grabbing them instead. Obviously, you can get up there quicker and have higher reach, but just slapping it. But if guys could catch it a little bit more, be ready or try to catch it, that'd be great. Obviously, just saying that because the play that I mentioned earlier where he blocked it out to the Little Rock guy and he hit that 3 with that is a little bit frustrating. But good to see Jordan take advantage of the minutes that he got and doing good things for IU. Statistics-wise, the very interesting thing that I have been noticing, and again, maybe this is something that speaks towards the volume of something that I talked about earlier in the show, where teams are going to play IU hard at the beginning and IU will wear them down, and by the second half we get into a rhythm and the other team has settled and it's not as deep and they get tired, is the second half stats for IU. I want to dive a little deeper and possibly look at that maybe in these past couple games, but we've had some second halves with some pretty amazing stats if you isolate those from the rest of the game. If you look at the second half stats, just the shooting percentages on this game, we were 66% from the field in the second half. We were 50% from 3, 5 for 10, so it's not even like that was at a low volume. And 78% from the free throw line. And again, that free throw stat even should be a lot higher. Caleb Banks got in there and didn't shoot it too well from the free throw line. He missing 5 of his free throws. So obviously you take that away or have him make 2 or 3 more, and we're looking in the 80 to 90% free throw shooting in that second half. So pretty impressive what IU has been able to do in the second half. And again, I think that is going to be a running stat that we see moving forward, and something that's really great as IU fans, because what did we get tired of hearing last season for IU was coach talking in the post-game shows, we need to get them over the hump. Got to get this team over the hump. They're right there, I just need to get over the hump. And when you're playing your best ball in the second half, that's getting over the hump. And you're not going to have a hump to have to deal with when you're able to fire away. Because when you think about last night's game, we were struggling and the game was still in striking distance. And then we had 2 great 3-pointers made back-to-back by Miller Kopp. And then game just opens up from there. And again, that shows, and not to poke at a wound that IU has, or a sore scar, I should say, that we have with our 3-point shooting. But that is something that when IU hits, and we need to hit better, that shows how it opens up games for IU and how we can be so much better moving forward. So again, this is a game where I don't think you want to read into it too much as far as struggling, because one, teams just seem to come to IU and hit ridiculous shots for some reason. Whatever voodoo curse is on IU for that reason, that's just dumb luck there. And two, the guys obviously weren't as geared up in this game. When you know your star is sitting out, not because he's injured, but to have the rest, which you want him to have, you're going to play a little bit less. Now, I do expect to see a few minutes from Trace tomorrow. I don't think you sit him 2 games and then have a big break like IU has before your biggest, arguably one of your biggest games of the season in North Carolina. You need him to get a little bit of rhythm, a little bit of go before the big game. Obviously, you don't want him to aggravate anything depending on how truly injured or sore his back is. Any of you that have had sore backs in situations in the past, even if you've just worked out and your back is sore, you know how frustrating that can be and how easy it is to aggravate a back. So we don't want him to hurt himself in any way, but he could get a little too cold if he sits out for this extended time moving forward. So look to see a few minutes from Trace Jackson-Davis in this upcoming game, so he finds that rhythm again moving forward and everything. And obviously, it is a quick turnaround, so there is going to be some soreness, some lackadaisicalness from this team. But we do play a Jackson State team that just did play Little Rock, and it was a relatively close game for those guys. I think a high-scoring game. I think it was like 94-92 or something like that. It was a very close game for them. And then Jackson State also just played Michigan the other day, and Michigan beat them by 10. Didn't see that game, haven't looked too deep into it, but obviously who knows what those stats truly mean in that game for that team. But obviously not a game that you take too lightly. You want to see them come out a little bit hotter than they were in last night's game. Just kind of show that they're taking it seriously and everything. But a game where, again, you don't want to have too many injuries. You don't want to have guys overdo it. Just take care of business, and then we move on. So, yeah, I think that'll do it for this edition of Hoosier Morning After. Remember, we have a game just turning around the next day. So be ready to watch your Hoosiers in the first kind of afternoon game. I think it's a 12:30 game tomorrow for Indiana. I'll be there again Saturday morning. We'll try to get Martha in or someone else joining me before that game, the Oaken Bucket Day on Saturday. But thanks for joining us, Hoosier Nation. We'll be back again on Saturday after the next game. Thank you for Bob Thompson for producing the music you hear on the show. We'll be back with you next time. Happy Thanksgiving out there, everybody. Go have a wonderful day. Don't eat too much. Have a good time. Enjoy that great nap. Go outside, play some football or something. But until then, go out there, have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. Let's go Hoosiers.